Before I begin, I wanted to offer to review anyone's application for the Missouri Microbusiness Lottery for free. If you want me to check it over for omissions or errors, I'll do that free of charge. If you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on Instagram, and join my High and Tight Facebook group. Just join my Facebook group and mention that you want me to review an application for you, and I'll be happy to help. So we're going to start off with the most questions that I always seem to have to explain to everybody, especially when I'm trying to find somebody to invest. They're like, microbusiness. Well, microbusiness in Missouri is a what they're calling the social equity program for Missouri. It's a marijuana facility license issued only to eligible entities and individuals. These licenses are essentially a small business that are designed to allow marginalized or underrepresented individuals to participate in the legal marijuana market. The Missouri Constitution provides that individuals who meet at least one of the eligibility criteria set forth in Article 14, Section 2 may apply for marijuana microbusiness facility license. And we'll go over those eligibility criteria here in a few minutes. So a brief overview of the Missouri Social Equity Program. You may either obtain one of two types of license. A wholesale license. This allows you to grow marijuana and process concentrates, and it also allows you to transport those products back and forth to facilities. The grow facility may only have 250 flowering plants at a time. Distributor license, which is how I'm rolling. You can sell cannabis products to medical and recreational consumers and may also manufacture pre-rolls. I applied for the Missouri Microbusiness program this last year and obtained a distributor license. So once I get my facility up and running and commenced, I will be able to sell marijuana products that I purchase from other wholesale facilities. If you can see this graphic on my screen, it kind of outlines it a little bit better. This came from the the Missouri Department of Senior Services, which also runs this marijuana program. So a marijuana wholesale facility combines cultivation and manufacturing facilities to serve the medical and adult use communities. They can grow up to 250 flowering plants, process, manufacture, and transport. They can also manufacture pre-rolls. They may only do business with other micro businesses. That's the same for the dispensary. They may only do business with other micro businesses. So the dispensary facility can do sales to consumer, process, package, deliver, and sell to micro business facilities, patients, and consumers. So apparently I can also have an online service where people can order their stuff and then I can deliver it to them according to this, which would be nice. I know a lot of people are making that a part of their business plan out here in the Kansas City area on the Missouri side, obviously, where it's legal. According to the DHSS website, micro business applicants generally, okay, so here's your criteria here. Majority owners must meet at least one eligibility criteria. An owner of a microbusiness facility may also not be an owner of another licensed facility or marijuana facility or medical marijuana facility. That's true and it's not true, because if you own less than 10% of another facility, you don't even have to report it. So you could own less than 10% of another medical marijuana or a medical facility, a recreational facility, and still be involved in the microbusiness program. Or you could own a lot of another marijuana facility and join in the microbusiness program and buy in for less than 10% equity in the company, and you don't have to report that either. The state wants you to report it, but you're not required to. An entity or individual may only apply for and obtain one microbusiness license. A marijuana facility shall not have as an owner any individual with a disqualifying felony offense. I tried to look for the information that would explain that, and I couldn't find it. But if memory serves correctly, a disqualifying felony offense would be one that was a violent felony or if you were arrested, had a felony charge for marijuana, and you were also under the influence of alcohol or other drugs, or had other drugs or a weapon on you, that would also disqualify you. So you're in the good if you have a some kind of a marijuana offense on your record, but it has to have been more than a year ago from the time you apply. So they don't want people to run out and make themselves eligible for the program by getting arrested for some marijuana crimes. Licenses are awarded in the Missouri lottery, so it's totally random. In October of 2023, the department was going to issue 6 microbusiness licenses in each of the 8 Missouri congressional districts for a total of 48 microbusiness licenses. That didn't really happen. So of the 6 in each district, 2 will be microbusiness dispensaries and 4 will be wholesale facilities. So the state thinks that 2 wholesale facilities that are producing 250 flowering plants is enough to provide a dispensary with all the product they need for consumers, which everybody in the community says that's probably not accurate at all. It might be
not unless it's seasonal.
What's that?
Not unless it's a seasonal.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people that are trying to do stuff creatively to like slow the customers from coming in, like maybe being only open on certain days, knowing that you don't have enough product to sell 7 days a week, or maybe being only open certain times or by appointment only, or different things like that. Because the concern is you open a dispensary, right? People want to come in and check out the new dispensary, and then you run out of product, and they come in when you're out of product, or they come in when you're closed. They may never come back again. Mm-hmm. So that's a concern. Let's see. Oh, the eligibility criteria. Here we go. I put a link in this document. If you have the document, you can click on that link and it'll take you to the part where you need to go. Okay, so there are 5 criteria by which you can be eligible to apply for a microbusiness license in Missouri. The number 1 is have a net worth of less than $250,000 and have had an income below 250% of the federal poverty level or a successor level as set forth in the applicable calendar year's federal poverty income guidelines, blah, blah, blah. I know some people that actually got their license using this, and it's a little bit more difficult to prove your net worth. Like you have to fill out a huge form, and you may have to contact an accountant to back things up for you and stuff like that. If anybody's interested in that, I can find out more about it and try and help you, guide you through that, because I know some people that got it that way. Have a valid service-connected disability card issued by the United States Department of Veteran Affairs or successor agency. That was my path. I'm a disabled veteran, so I was able to qualify for the lottery that way. Be a person who has been, or a person whose parent, guardian, or spouse has been arrested for, prosecuted for, or convicted of a nonviolent marijuana offense at least 1 year prior to the effective date of this section, unless the conviction involved provision of marijuana to a minor or was driving under the influence of marijuana. I forgot those 2 things. Those will disqualify you also. Okay, the 4th one is reside in a zip code. This is where a lot of people are getting in. So if you just live in an area where the poverty level is low, you can qualify. So 30% or more of the population live below the federal poverty level. The rate of unemployment is 50% higher than the state average rate of unemployment, or the historic rate of incarceration for marijuana-related offenses is 50% higher than the rate for the entire state. There is a tool on the website that you can go and look up. You can just click these links here that I provided, and it will tell you what zip codes qualify you or disqualify you. And number 5, the last one, graduated from a school district that was unaccredited or had similar successor designation at the time of graduation, or has lived in a zip code containing an unaccredited school district or similar successor designation for 3 of the past 5 years. So that's kind of a catch-22 sort of a thing, because that I put 2 applications in, one for me and one for my wife. I won the dispensary license. My wife didn't win, but how we tried to get her in was because she's from another country, and she definitely did not graduate from a school district that was, or she did this graduate from a school district that was not a U.S. accredited school.
Hmm.
When I submitted my application, they were telling people, if you have more than one qualifying criteria, you should mention all of those. So if you're a disabled veteran and you have a net worth of less than $250,000, you should claim both of those. Their reason being that maybe one of those, you may fill out the application wrong, and it may come into question whether you're eligible or not. But if you have another one that says you're eligible, that'll get you in the door. Any questions? No? Okay.
No.
So
Okay.
I kind of have a couple.
Okay, yeah, go.
So-
Cut them out.
With that registered wholesale license or dispensary license, you're stuck to your little area. You couldn't expand out to, say, in the Ozarks or something like that. If you had one in Kansas City, you're only stuck to your little region.
When you do the application process, you have to say what congressional district that you want your dispensary to be in, and some of them are quite large. I actually have a graphic that we'll get to here in a minute that shows the congressional districts. So you can put your dispensary anywhere in that congressional district you want, and you can change the location later if you want to anywhere else in that congressional district, but you cannot hop out of the congressional district. So once you pick that, you're kind of locked in.
Okay.
Anything else?
And they're only giving out a certain amount for wholesale and a certain amount for dispensary. And like you were saying, it's awfully low
Yeah,
be in that perspective.
that is true. And to complicate matters, in round 1 and in round 2, there were a lot of people that put in applications that were rejected by the state. So those licenses actually never got issued. They tried to issue the ones that were not issued from round 1 into round 2, but more than almost half of the licenses that were issued in round 2 became ineligible. So I don't know. Nobody knows what they're going to do in round 3. We're all hoping that they will just issue the rest of the licenses in round 3, because as dispensaries, we need those facilities up and running so that we can have product in our facilities.
Do they plan to expand beyond those whatever 48 or whatever it was?
I think there's a total of 142 licenses that are supposed to be issued according to the Constitution.
Okay.
But they can issue more if they want to. Most people in the community don't want them to issue more because that's more competition. Right now, the market in Missouri is pretty good compared to other states like, I'm going to use Colorado as an example, where the market is so saturated with dispensaries that the price of marijuana is just so low there. It's really hard to compete. Like if you go to Denver and go to a dispensary there this year and go back next year, that dispensary is probably not going to be open anymore.
Wow.
It's really hard. It's really hard there to keep a business running because of all the competition. In Missouri, they've limited the amount of licenses that are put out, and the market here is really good because of that. It is right now anyway.
Seems like you could have more wholesale and less of the dispensaries, maybe.
I agree.
Generally.
I agree. I think you're right.
And still be competitive.
Because of all the shenanigans that went on of people submitting invalid applications in this last round, the DHSS is going to do some rule changes to try and prevent shenanigans from happening in the upcoming round. And everybody right now is just kind of waiting to find out what's going to happen next before they make their moves, because no telling how these rules might affect people trying to move forward. Some of the rules going forward might limit the ways in which micro businesses can find financing, for example. So And we don't, and the state hasn't even said when they're going to do these new rule changes yet. We're all just kind of waiting around right now for the other shoe to drop to find out what's going to happen. So in that vein, I'm glad that came up because I wanted to do this call now so that we know what the rules are right now. And then when the new rules come out, maybe we'll do another call with the same guest if I can get you guys on and talk about the new rules, and we can kind of compare and contrast and talk about how the new rule changes might affect the community. There's a link here that you will want to get on the DHSS mailing list in order to get the latest updates on when the round 3 application will start, rule changes that are upcoming, and other relevant information. So yeah, I got on this mailing list, and they do send out mail infrequently, but it is community updates, and it's always relevant. If they're talking about doing when the next round of changes are going to be and stuff like that, they'll send out emails about it. Once you get your account set up and have your path forward, your application process will be slightly different based on your eligibility criteria. For example, you'll have to provide the information of your net worth is below the 250,000 mark if that was what your eligibility requirement is that you need to meet. There are several other things you will need to complete in the application process, regardless of your eligibility qualifier. Before we get to that, were there any questions that I missed? Anything else? Okay.
I do have one, yeah. So like, you know, there's this idea of marijuana and pre-rolled cigarettes, but then there's all these other associated things that you could still sell. Like, you know, if you were out of actual marijuana plant, couldn't you still sell gummies or I don't know, other associated THC products that you could probably get more plentifully?
That is a great question. The answer is yes. The microbusiness dispensaries are allowed to do all the same stuff that the comprehensive guys do, except we can only purchase product from other microbusinesses. So we can have gummies, we can have concentrates, we can have patches, we can have suppositories, we can have drops, we can have CBD products, we can have the flour, we can have vape carts, we can have all that. But the feeling in the community is that there's not going to be a lot of that because a lot of these people don't have the money to buy a processing facility to make hash and concentrates and stuff like that. They might have simple stuff like hash rock, keef, or some kind of simple extracts that you can do, bubble hash, that kind of stuff. But most dispensaries are thinking, especially the first dispensaries to open up, are going to probably be limited to just like flour and hash and pre-rolls and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So that's another way that makes it really hard for us to compete with the comprehensive guys. Not hard, just challenging, I should say. Anything else?
On that note of the other products, you know, like your oils and distillates and all that stuff, is that what can you do that on either side of the license?
No.
Or is it wholesale only?
Wholesale only. The only processing that dispensaries can do is manufacture their own pre-rolls. But that also comes with a caveat. You cannot, like, you can't buy the flour and then process it down, break it up into small enough pieces to put into pre-rolls. That has to already come to you already processed, and then you can roll it into pre-rolls.
All right. Well, on the wholesale end, would there be? I know on the flowering is $250, but if you have other green matter and stuff like that you're using for your processing for your oils and distillates, are they going to use that as some sort of limit on that as well?
No.
Okay.
Another thing that we can do in Missouri that a lot of people aren't doing because the state has made it really difficult is we can also sell clones. So talking about other stuff that's green matter, that could be an optional revenue stream for dispensaries and wholesale facilities.
And what about all these? I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Channing.
Was there a limit on clones as long as they're not in flower?
There's no limit.
Hmm.
I think there is a limit. Well, maybe I need to back up on that. I think there is a limit on how tall they can be. Like, I think 12 inches or 18 inches is what comes to mind.
Mm.
So I think, and the way it makes it tricky is a customer, you can't have the clones in the store for a customer to buy. The customer has to order the clones. Then you have to get them from a wholesale facility, and they arrive at the wholesale or at your dispensary. Then you have to contact the customer and tell them to come in and get their clones. And I think they have 48 hours to do that. And if they don't come in and get them in 48 hours, then they have to be destroyed, which is why a lot of people aren't selling clones. If I'm saying the process right, I'll check into that and make sure that I'm telling you the right thing. Nate, did you have something?
Yeah, I was wondering about all the other types of, associated products that go along with this. Like, I mean, just papers or pipes or other
Oh, yeah.
things that you may be able to sell. I mean, there's plenty of places that only sell those things already and maintain a business.
The dispensaries are allowed to sell the products that consumers would use to consume the marijuana with. So,
Okay.
all your like bongs, pipes, everything that you would kind of see in a typical head shop, papers. The only thing you can't sell is like tobacco. So you can't sell any blunts or anything any papers made from tobacco product.
That was going to be my next question about, can you do a pre-roll with a tobacco leaf?
Negative. You cannot.
Mm.
Some people are doing a crazy thing where they make papers out of marijuana leaves. I've
Oh.
seen, and they're making blunts that way somehow. I don't know much about that, but that was something I saw at a conference that I went to recently.
I'd never
Yeah,
heard
they
of that.
use
That's wild.
distillate as the gum.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Channing, what was that?
You use distillate as the gum to hold as you dry the leaves to help
It
it
just
burn.
doesn't seem like those leaves would be I mean, they're very skinny. You
Oh,
know what
I'm
I
sure
mean?
it's not good.
I'm sure it's not easy to put those together. I haven't tried one, so I don't have an opinion, but I would hope that they would be amazing. I'd rather smoke a marijuana leaf than a paper, from a tree or wherever they come from.
Well, what about like raw hemp papers and stuff like that? That wouldn't have tobacco in it, so that would qualify.
Correct. Yeah, you could sell those. Those would be fine. Anything else? Okay. All right. So application submission basics. There's a link here. You can click for guidance during the application process that will take you to a form on the DHSS website. If you click this big link that says click here for an application checklist, this will really help you out if you're trying to prepare for when the lottery opens up in the next round beforehand so that you can get things done and you're not scrambling at the last minute. Because I think when they opened it up last time, they opened it up and it was only open for 2 weeks. So you had a couple weeks to get in there, find out what paperwork you needed to submit if you didn't know already, and get all that stuff together and submit it. I was able to do it, so it wasn't that difficult. I'm not that smart. So if I can figure it out, even Channing could probably figure it out.
Oh no, I don't like the LLC part, but I
Well,
understand it in this perspective compared to my tree business.
let me read this and then we'll come back to that. Okay, so you should form an LLC. You can do this at the Missouri Secretary of State website by clicking here. I did that. I figured it out how to do it without any help. I think it cost me $50 to set up an LLC. And then once you do that, you may be able to complete your application process with another business type. But I understand that some people had issues during the application process and afterwards if they chose another business type. And one person was even actually asked to change their business to an LLC so that they could move forward. So I'm just saying that an LLC would probably cause you less heartburn in the long run if you just did it the way they want you to do. And I'm expecting them to put some kind of rule in the rules going forward about this. I'm expecting to see something about an LLC or what kind of business types are acceptable to clarify that for people going forward. So what was your question, Channing, or what was your comment?
Just
Just talking about the
doing
LLC.
the LLC part. In Kansas, it's not as easy.
Oh, in Missouri, it was super easy. You just go to the Secretary of State website, and I got a link right there. You click on it, you create an account, and really, I think I had to have what it's called. I had to have some kind of an agent to represent me in the state of Missouri. So I had to hire a company to be a registered agent. That's what it's called. And I think that was like $150 for a year. And once I had a registered agent, so since I don't have an address in Missouri, I don't live in Missouri, I live in Kansas, I had to have an address for legal documents and things like that to go to. Should somebody sue me, or if there's any legal stuff that has to happen, it can go through the registered agent instead of my storefront, which I don't even have. And that was another thing that I was able to just do a Google search, find a registered agent, and then I made an account. They were happy to take my money and then basically do nothing for the last year. That was a great business for them.
Yeah, it's an awesome business model.
Right. So here's coming back to the question we had earlier. You will need to find a suitable location. You must declare which congressional district you want to place your business in. You can just go to Google Maps and type in Missouri's 6th congressional district or 5th, whatever you're interested in, and Google Maps will bring that up and show you an outline of the congressional district that you're interested in. So here's a very basic map that gives that idea. You can see that Congressional District 6 here basically covers the top third of Missouri, basically. District number 5 contains most of the Kansas City area. My license is here in the District 4, and then 3, 2, and 1. The 2 and the 1 and the 8 are kind of the St. Louis area, and the District 7 down here in the lower left-hand corner. You must also adhere to all local zoning requirements, such as there is a 1,000-foot rule. The proposed license location is within 1,000 feet of any existing elementary school, daycare, or church. The applicant shall provide local government requirements replacing the department's 1,000-foot rule. So basically that's saying that there is a 1,000-foot rule between schools and churches, but some counties and municipalities have lessened their zoning requirements. Like I called this one town in a really remote area up in Missouri's Congressional District 6 that I was interested in. It was just a little podunk town way out of the way of anywhere. And I called them up and they had no requirements. You could just put your dispensary anywhere. Like you could, right down the street, you could sell your devil's lettuce right inside the satanic church there, I guess. I don't know. Apparently that's legit. I don't know. So if you want to do that, if a local or if a municipality has a less restrictive rule, you got to get copies of the local ordinance to submit with your application, expressly allow marijuana license to be cited within 1,000 feet of those locations or less. I found out most of these little municipalities have their zoning ordinances published right on their website for the city. Some don't, most do. And you can just go there and look up where their zoning laws are and type the word, do the search feature, type cannabis in, and it'll bring up all the rules relating to cannabis in there. And you can find out what they are. And you can also call that city, the city hall, and ask to be put in touch with the zoning commissioner. Sometimes they're called a zoning commissioner. Sometimes they have another title, but you can call them and verify. And I've had those gentlemen say that they weren't sure what the cannabis laws were and that they would follow up with me, and all of them did. They all sent me documentation that shows what their zoning requirements are. So you can find those people to be I found them to be very helpful. Most cities will want your business to be in a specific zone, such as property zone for commercial or industrial use, etc. the zoning ordinance should spell out these requirements. In any case, like I just said, you should call the city and speak with a zoning commissioner. Any questions?
I'm wondering, outside of like these city requirements, do you have any history or knowledge about, the actual landlords of the properties and how they feel about renting out to cannabis places
I
like
do.
this?
Yeah, I do. It's generally it's less restrictive if you want to do something outside the city limits, like in the county. Sometimes there's no zoning requirements. You can absolutely put it anywhere you want. And I did have I know somebody in the micro business community that had a wholesale license, and they purchased some property. I'm pretty sure it was in the county, and they had to disclose what they're doing out there, because you can't just like say, I'm going to buy this land and then surprise, there's a dispensary there. You have to kind of tell the city what you're doing, right? So the
Sure.
city approved everything, the state approved everything. And then once some local citizens found out about it, they were not happy with it, and they raised a stink, but they weren't able to stop them from putting their facility in. It just slowed everything down.
Well, I'm wondering too, like for a storefront, it feels like you're likely going to be renting a location from a landlord, and I don't know that they're always going to be willing to have a dispensary come in.
A lot of times ancillary businesses will really love a dispensary to come in, because they like, if there's for example, there's a convenience store nearby, they would love for your customers to come in and buy marijuana and then realize they need to have a Coke or buy some gas or something like that, or they all of a sudden they have some munchies and they need to go get some food or whatever. A lot of these businesses like it when marijuana facilities move into the area, because it brings in more customers for them. The people that don't like it to come in generally are the other marijuana facilities that are in the other dispensaries that are in the area that would view you as competition.
Sure.
Yeah. Anything else? Good questions, everybody. Keep them coming. Okay. So another thing that you'll have to do during the licensing process is to provide an ownership business structure. There's a link again that I put here for the DHSS's example, which I have also included here. So at the top, you see the Green Street LLC is the company that's trying to get the license here. And they've got a very convoluted thing. They're doing business with these guys and these guys over here. And some of these are sub-entity. The one down here is a sub-entity of this other entity. And all this stuff has to be written out. If you're partnering with these people or these businesses or these entities, it has to show this, and it has to show how much of a percentage, I think, that they're getting or buying into, how much equity they're getting in your business. Here's my ownership structure. Mine was very simple because I'm the only person in it. So this is the actual document that I submitted to the state. It's just my business name at the top, my name, I'm the majority owner, and it shows that I'm the financial owner 100% and the voting interest 100%, which we all know that's a lie because I'm married. My wife is getting all that money, and she's actually telling me everything that I should do, right?
I was going to say that.
Right?
I'm married. I know how it goes.
The wife is actually in charge. But according to this, and on paper, I'm in charge. So don't tell the state. So you'll need to provide a blueprint that shows the layout. I guess it's not a blueprint. A blueprint is like a technical document that shows all the wiring and all that. This is a floor plan. I think a floor plan is more accurate. That shows the layout, the limited access areas, security cameras, square footage, and label all work areas. I'm not going to show you mine, the one that I submitted, because I put a lot of work into it, and I don't want somebody to just steal my work and use it for their thing. But I will walk you through this and tell you how I did it. So here they have an example. And I don't know if it's easy for you. I basically can't see this at all. Like this number 2, there's a number 2 right here where my crosshairs are. This indicates a limited access area. All these number 1s here, those are security cameras that are noted on this floor plan. Of course, the entrances and exits out of the building all have to be marked with what kind of access they are. Are they limited access for like employees, or are they unrestricted access for customers to come in the front door? So, and it also shows here like where the entrance is, the front desk, the exit. I think you also have to have a vault area and a delivery area, a security room, and an office where metric is the tracking software that the state requires everybody to use that goes from the time you plant a seed to the time it arrives at the dispensary, and actually even who the customer is that bought it. Yes, the government is tracking all that. So what I did was I went on Google Maps is going to be your friend, right? So I found a city that I wanted to put my dispensary in. It was Columbia at the time in District 4. And I found a build. I called several real estate agents and none of them wanted to help me. I was like, here's the criteria. I'm looking for a building that has to be 1,000 feet from a school. You know, I took all this criteria. They didn't want to do the work to figure it out. I figured it out. I'm not a real estate agent, right? I just started looking up buildings that were in the zoning areas that I wanted to be in. I finally found one that was within, you know, all the requirements. And I just went on Google Earth, right, and did an outline. I used the measuring tool to find out the dimensions of the building. And I found a piece of free floor plan software online. And I measured out the outside of the building, and then I just drew all how everything I wanted to be inside with all the dimensions, and then I listed all the cameras and all the access areas and all that stuff. And there was no problems with it. The state loved it. I saw some that were very, very simple that looked like they were drawn in Microsoft Paint, very rudimentary, that passed its state scrutiny. So they don't have to be fancy, but they do have to follow the criteria that's on this little thing right here. Any questions about that? We're almost done, guys. We've all blasted through this whole thing. So another thing you must do. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Channing.
Is there something coming up on what the wholesale blueprint needs to be like?
There's an example of that on the website. It's basically the same thing. You have to show what all your areas are. You know, your clone room, your fertigation, where the cameras are. It's basically the same thing. You have to have, I think, 2 cameras in every room, 2 angles in every room. And your doors to the outside have to be limited access. You have to have a vault as well, and that has to be limited access also.
Well, how's the tracking of a clone gonna happen too?
Well, I mean, like I said, the state has cameras in every room, and you're required to have, I think, 60 or 90 days of that footage backed up at all times. And the state can actually hear and see what you're doing at all times, so they know what you're doing.
Well, I'd be good with it, but I mean, do you know what the process of, you're only allowed so many in flower, but if you're cloning before flower, obviously, but the height. Oh, your height. Never mind.
Yeah,
I
yeah, your height
own
is
question.
a factor on clone. You can clone as many as you want. You can have as many clones and mamas and all that stuff as you want. I think the clones can be as big as you want them to be, as long as they're not for sale to customers. If they're just for use in your wholesale facility, then they can be as big as you like them to be.
Okay.
So another thing you'll have to submit for the application process is a valid government ID. I just used my driver's license. There is a $1,500 application fee. However, you can get this back if your application is not chosen in the lottery drawing and you submitted a valid application. There was a bunch of people there's a famous case. I don't want to mention any names, but there was a guy from out of state that just collected a bunch of names off of Craigslist and submitted applications for all these people. And those people some of these people actually won the lottery and didn't even know that they had applied, right? So this guy did all that for them. And of course, all those applications were they were all invalid, right? Because they were submitted for people that didn't even know they were applying. Hopefully that guy lost all his money for doing all that shenanigans, because that was bull smack. That was one of the things that really messed it up for everybody else, because we need those licenses up and running. And now this guy is trying to take a shortcut or go around the rules or whatever, and kind of jacked it up for everybody. So there's a copy of the rules. It's quite extensive. You can click there and get it. There are application tools from the DHS website that you can click that link and see what they are. And I just wanted to remind everybody, this is pretty much it. We'll wrap it up here. We'll do some more questions or just have some conversation about it. I wanted just to remind everyone again that if anybody is interested in submitting an application for the next round of micro business applications, I would be happy to check it over for you to make sure that it looks like it may not have any omissions or errors. I'll do that free. I guess it's not for free, because I want something from you. I want you to subscribe to my YouTube. I want you to follow me on Instagram and join my High and Tight LLC Facebook group. So if you'll do that for me, I will gladly help you out. Okay, that's it. That's everything. Does anybody have any questions over the stuff we covered?
I had a question, Dave.
Okay.
We were talking about wholesaling, and I'm not going to mention any names or anything or companies in the area, but I used to work at a cultivation, and they're kind of going under fire right now for numerous things that you'll find in a cultivation, like bud rot, getting sprayed with harmful chemicals. All plants get sprayed. It just depends on what you're spraying them with, of course. But those are my biggest concerns in, like, I guess, the Missouri area of cannabis, because we were talking about Colorado, very, very saturated, like, and not that Missouri is anything like it, but prices for cannabis and like the limit that you can get, it's kind of, I don't know, it just seems a little strange where you have a company that's pretty well known and it's getting under fire for bud rot, selling bud rot, and selling product that's been sprayed with harmful chemicals. I don't know. It just, my big concern was, like, if I was going to wholesale something, do I have a choice of, like, picking what companies I'd want to, like, buy from them, You
sure do. Yeah.
Okay, good.
That is kind of I'll explain that kind of dynamic that's going on in the community right now. So everybody is saying, what they're saying out loud is, we need all these businesses to be up and running so that we have enough product to fill our dispensaries with. That's not really what's happening. What's really happening is people are trying to already group with, like me. A lot of it's, honestly, it's not me trying to partner with other people. It's a lot of wholesale facilities that are concerned that they don't have a place to sell their bud to. They're all contacting me and saying, hey, are you going to work with me? I got this bud, I'll make sure that you get this. So the battle lines are already being drawn in the background. That's already happening. But technically, I can buy marijuana at the dispensary from any other micro business that's willing to sell to me.
In your district?
No, I can only sell. I can only have the business in my district. I can buy and sell from any other micro business, regardless of what district they're in.
Oh, whole state.
Yeah,
Okay.
the whole state. Yeah.
That's what I was asking pretty much before.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed.
If you had something in the Ozarks, are you locked into that area? Okay.
You're just locked into where the location of your facility is, but you're not locked into sales.
Okay. But you're locked at 250.
What's that? Yeah, you're locked into the 250 flowering plant count. That's one thing that a lot of people are complaining about. That might be something that's a rule change coming up in the future too.
Well,
that
I mean,
would really,
if you're only got 2 grow facilities per dispensary, there's no way to keep that year round. There's no way, not at 250.
I like your thinking. I agree with that. I'm going to make a clip of that, what you just said, and send it to the state. I agree. Most people agree that 500 plants is not going to be enough to supply a dispensary with, certainly not a full range of products. Not if we're talking about gummies, cartridges, oils, ashes.
That's a lot of plant matter. That's a lot of plant matter.
It is, yeah. So that's going to be one challenge that we're going to have to compete with comprehensive facilities. One thing I want to mention this. I'm glad you got on, Tucker. I didn't see you sneak in here. Thank you for coming.
Of course, of course.
How much did you miss?
Oh, I'd probably say like I got in here like maybe half. I got here at like 7:10.
Oh, okay, cool. You didn't miss much then. We didn't get started till about 5 after, so no big deal. You got in on most of it. Yeah, actually, Tucker and I used to work at some unnamed cannabis facility together. That's how we met.
Yeah. From the same state too.
Yeah.
BKS.
So are you still working in the industry, Tucker?
No, I wish. I'm in school for HVAC right now.
Oh,
I had to quit it. Mother effers.
I quit. Honestly, I quit because I got this dispensary license and I was afraid there would be a conflict of interest and I didn't want to get fired and be at risk of losing my agent ID because that would disqualify me from being able to have a dispensary.
And that company sure seems to be very confrontational. I won't say any names.
Yeah. It was a fun place to work in a lot of ways, but in other ways it was tragic.
Oh yeah, especially upper management. That's all I'm gonna say.
We'll talk later.
Yeah. We won't get into
Is
the
there an
deets.
insurance requirement?
I don't know that there's any requirement. There may be, but I mean, everybody's going to want to have insurance for sure.
Right, you're gonna have general liability, but as far as oh, like crop insurances and stuff like that on the wholesale side, is there anything set up in that area?
I don't know. Can you send me a text and remind me of that? I'll look into it for you. I'm more, my focus is more on the distributor side, so I don't know a lot of the specific details about the wholesale side, but I'll look it up for you and get back to you.
I'm done dealing with people. That's the reason I'll just go to the wholesale side. I deal with plants.
I'm finding that that's the case with a lot of wholesale facilities. These guys are just weed nerds that are introverts and they just want to go in their basement and grow marijuana and don't want to have to deal with anybody else. A lot of these weed nerds are like that. Any other questions we don't even have to talk about this. We can talk about anything cannabis related. So
how's the storefront search going for you?
Oh, it's tough. It's really difficult because trying to find financing for a cannabis business is difficult because a lot of banks and a lot of credit card companies won't even give you a freaking credit card if they know it's related to cannabis. It makes it challenging. And right now with all these rule changes that may be coming up in the near future, everybody's kind of waiting to see what's going to happen. Those kind of things may affect how we do business going forward. Did I answer your question, brother?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anybody have anything else? I'm hungry and I didn't eat dinner. I'm thinking about going to what's that place on the edge of Lansing out there that sells pancakes and omelets? You want to come, Tucker?
IHOP.
IHOP. There you go. Yeah.
I got white chicken chili, Dave. You want to come on over?
Oh, I'll be there as soon as this. Just text me your address. I'm coming.
All right.
That's delicious, actually. I have not made chili yet. This is the perfect weather for chili.
Yeah. Me and the fiance thought it was a good idea.
I like your poster in the background. I have a shirt that says that.
No,
I love
Nirvana, yeah.
Heck
Gotta
yeah.
have Nirvana.
Greatest bands of all, one of the greatest bands of all time.
Oh yeah. Kurt. Shout out Kurt Cobain. I miss him.
This is so funny. This is the quietest that I have ever seen Stefan be. Usually he has a lot of input.
Sorry. I got tired for a second. And, but no, the only thing I have to say though is it's good to see this because part of the little little snippet that I want to do about you for my news segment, it does say that social equity programs like Missouri's Missouri's aims to correct disparities in the industry where fewer than 4% of cannabis businesses nationwide are Black owned, and many operators face barriers between financing and zoning issues. And then also, it, one of the things that you're going to be focusing on too is the sustainability factor. You know, the cannabis waste from single-use packaging to cultivation products, you know, is a growing concern because it just adds to the pollution. You know, because a lot of them are single-use. You know, so.
Let me address that. I'm glad you brought that up. Part of my business model is because I did some market research early on in this process to find out what ideas were hitting that were hitting with customers. And one thing that customers are very interested in is sustainability. Almost every marijuana consumer has a secret stash pile of jars at home or pre-roll tubes that they don't want to throw away because they're waiting for something for some kind of use for them. You know, they don't want to throw that in the trash. There's so much stuff that winds up in the trash. My big thing is those damn disposable vapes. Each one of those have a rechargeable lithium ion battery that get used one time and then thrown in the trash. That is toxic. That is awful. So I want to offer a like some kind of a program in my dispensary, like bring in a disposable vape or 10 used disposable vapes and get a pre-roll or a discount or something like that. I want to solve that problem for consumers because that is a big concern of mine and consumers.
And you
That'd
could
be a
do it on
crazy
the
idea. I've never
wholesale
seen that
side
before.
too. There's a lot of waste on that side that could be used in composting and fertilizing that they do not do.
Tucker can verify that there is a lot of waste in those comprehensive facilities.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the
everything gets to use. Like nothing goes to waste. Like even the water, like it's going back into the plants. Like nothing's going to waste in any of the like cultivations. Especially like making like edibles or carts and stuff that like extracts and stuff like that. They never waste anything from my experience. I don't know about other companies in Missouri, but
and the downside of that is if there is a lot of waste, it has to be disposed of properly. I think in Kansas, if you're a dispensary and you have bud that has to be disposed of, like sometimes there's a product recall or maybe you find something wrong with product that can't be sold to consumers, you have to take that and mix it with kitty litter and then throw it away.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I think though, if you're a wholesale facility and you have a lot of product that you're not disposing of properly, you have to hire like a special waste disposal site to come and pick up your stuff that's left over. Like we had a lot of like fan leaves and stuff like that from deflowering, and the bottom of the plant that's just all stems that got thrown in the trash, and all that stuff had to be disposed of properly. I think didn't they have a specific service that came out and picked that stuff up, Tucker?
I think so. Yeah, they would put them in all in like little like white bags, especially like little leaves too.
And not only that, but the the dumpsters outside of the building where the stuff was disposed of were in a chained up area, like with a like a big fence, chain link fence around it, and so it was all limited access and whatnot.
It was always locked too. From
state always checks all that stuff. It seemed like the place that we were working at, if I may proffer an observation, was that these guys were getting in on the whole thing early and on the recreational side. And it seems like they didn't know or didn't care what a lot of the regulations were. Like they would just wait for somebody from the state to come and say, "Hey, you're doing this wrong," and then they'd fix it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Especially
that seemed like it was, because I would even go as the security guy when I was working security. I'd be like, "Hey, it looks like this is not being done properly," and they didn't. They just didn't really care.
OSHA was a big thing. OSHA was a big thing in that facility. Like, state would always be there once a month just to like check on things, and they were there. They tapped in on the cameras and everything. They knew what was going on. The state.
Yep.
So they knew what wasn't being done right.
They did. Yep.
And a lot of, I'll add this in here. if I can. The Missouri, I guess, cannabis connoisseurs that come in here from like California, a lot of it, from my knowledge, is from, a lot of experienced people from the black market came from California to Missouri. There's only a few companies in Missouri that I know personally that are actually like Kansas, Missouri residents. They didn't come from California. Like they didn't know the market from Colorado or Michigan. They only knew it from California.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I definitely think, from my experience when I first entered and worked at the place that me and David worked at, I could definitely tell from directors, from even higher up from directors, they just had a certain mentality where go, 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 sell, 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 sell. And it's like, that's fine for when you're first starting out, I guess, I presume. But where's like the quality? We're not worried about, I brought this up last time, like the bud rot and like the harmful chemicals that you're spraying on a fucking plant. So excuse my language. I'm sorry. But it bothered me. Yeah. I'm sorry. But it bothered me, and I can definitely tell like just some of these brands, they're just pushing out product constantly, and I don't know. Definitely an eye opener for Missouri people.
I haven't been smoking lately because I don't want to purchase bud from a freaking dispensary. I purchased some high-end Vibe product from a dispensary, took it home, smoked it, and vomited. And then I accidentally bought some Vibe again later. I was just looking for the strain. I didn't realize what brand it was. And when I got home, I was like, oh no, this is Vibe. And I smoked it and got sick again. It made me ill. I shouldn't have said the brand. I should have just said some brand. Some people probably really love Vibe, and it's good for them. But for me, it didn't work out. But I am not going to go spend my hard-earned money to buy some weed that's going to make me sick. Not going to do it. I'd rather just not smoke.
That's why I like being a home grower. Personally, I don't have to worry about disappointment, unless I start with shitty genetics.
Exactly. Yes.
Travel a lot from state to state. It's always a hit or miss that when you go to the dispensary. Some of them are really well put together and organized, and it's almost like being in like a expensive jewelry store. And then some of them are very like back alley, walk into this room and go to this room.
Right. To get mugged on your way out,
Check, make sure the car was locked 10 times as you're going in the door.
Right. Don't leave anything out in eyesight.
That's actually a good point, though. Like you actually care about the genetics that you're growing, and you actually know what you're putting in your soil too. Like, I don't know, a lot of cultivations, they're so used to, they just put tubes in the soil and go about their day, on to the next plant. So,
another thing I wanted to mention that somebody brought up quickly, we can come back to this, that we talked about earlier that I wanted to bring up, is that residency in Missouri is not a requirement to get in on the application process. So obviously I mentioned that I'm from Kansas. You might not want to, if you get a license, you might not want to tell people that you're from out of state if you are, because I had somebody flame me on Facebook relentlessly when they found out I had a license. And then I told them I lived in Kansas. They're like, oh my God, this is supposed to be for Missouri, blah, 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 blah. It was just, I mean, I had to drop out of the Facebook group I was in. It was so embarrassing. I was like, I have not done anything wrong. I followed all the rules. I'm sorry it upsets you. I don't want to be here anymore.
That's funny.
Yeah. But some states do have a residency requirement. You have to be a residency to get on their social equity program. I know Minnesota is not one of them. And their thing is weird. Their thing is different. I want to do a podcast and try and get some people on that are in social equity programs from other parts of the state, kind of compare and contrast how it's working here and how they're doing things and what's working here and what's not working here and so forth in their areas. But in Minnesota, you just apply for the license, and if your application is valid, you get it. there's no lottery process. You just apply, put your fee in, and if it's a valid license, you're good to go. Some other states are like that too. That's good and bad. I mean, that gives a lot of people a chance to get in on it, but it also saturates the market, And to Stefan's point earlier, he was talking about this program really feels like the way it's written. This is really meant for people with black and brown faces to get in on this, people in poverty or that have been adversely affected by crime or unaccredited schools. Man, I'd like to see more black and brown people. I'm trying to lift those people up in the community. Those are the people that I'm trying to partner with, Not that I feel guilty for being white.
That's funny.
Right. All right. Anybody have anything else they want to bring to the table? We've been at this for an hour, and it's Saturday or Friday night. I appreciate everybody spending their valuable Friday night time with me, although I know Tucker doesn't have anything else going on. He's right where he wants to be with his white chili and his lovely lady. And
I'm in my natural habitat.
Right, exactly. Anybody have any last minute stuff? If not, we can wrap this up. All right. I'm going to call it. I'm going to go ahead and stay on. We can still chat if you guys want, but if you guys want to drop off and you got families or other people you want to spend time with that aren't me, I totally understand.